to the Board of Elections by?
Excuse me.
Mr. Mosby?
Yes, everything has to be submitted to the Board of Elections by February 3rd.
So this is the first step. This is legislation for tax valuation. Then there would be a second piece of legislation for actually ballot language.
Yes, sir. So the first, assuming that the first will take 3 readings, and assuming that it passes, the valuation has to be done by the auditor. It has to be sent back to us. And then we use that to put the second resolution, which is the authorization to place the issue on the ballot for vote. That would then have to go before council for consideration.
Hear me?
I can hear you there. I could hear that. Yes.
Phew. This is gonna be a frustrating night for me. I can feel that now. So I have 2 questions. The first is, what is our current street levy? And the second is, so if all we're doing is putting this on the agenda, right? Can it also be discussed in committee at the same time? Because
So
clearly this is skirting all of our processes that we have diligently put in place. So I'm trying to figure out if we can somehow get some of that back on track.
So I believe we have had discussions in the past that we could have a first reading and send it to committee and get it back in time.
Hang on,
Okay.
I don't want to be misunderstood. I don't want to take it off the agenda. Once it's on the agenda, I do not wish to take it off the agenda and it miss readings, because clearly it's time sensitive. Someone dropped the ball. It's very clear, and council now has to pick up the ball. I get it. So I don't want that to slow down the process. I just want to know that it can happen, that both items can happen in coordination with each other.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey.
in the past, I think the reason that we've been able to take it off the agenda and run it through committee is because we would have read it in our first council meeting of the month, and then finance meets right after that. Finance doesn't meet in between these two, but I do agree with Mary Jo. A lot of our rules that we so thoroughly discussed have been bypassed on a couple of pieces of legislation, and I would like to see it get back on track as well.
Mr. President, I don't think I had my original question answered. Is this the same millage that will expire in December 31st, 2020?
Mr. Mosby.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry. Yes, this is a renewal of our current millage. So there is no change to it. This one simply expires at the end of this year, but the disbursement continues through 2021.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey.
as I glance over this, I do not see the word renewal on this piece of legislation. And so, personally speaking, I would like to see this go through finance before it goes through council.
This particular, I'm sorry, Mr. President, I apologize.
Mr. Mosby.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, this particular piece of legislation is simply authorizing the county auditor to give us a valuation that we would be able to put on the subsequent resolution that would have to label it a renewal.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I know we're getting really granular here, and this isn't what we're talking about, but I would argue that once this expires, it's no longer a renewal, it's a new levy. So when this expires and the voters don't vote until May, that's essentially a new levy for them. But with that note, Mr. President, I would like to make a motion reluctantly to add Resolution 17, 2020 to the agenda for tonight, and that is declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation and requesting the county auditor to certify to matters in connection therewith and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I second that.
All right, have a motion for Ms. Zorb with a second from Ms. Bailey to add Resolution 17-2020 to tonight's agenda for first reading. Any other discussion? Ms. DeWalt, please call the roll.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Zorb,
Yes.
Miss Hartman,
Yes.
and Miss Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to amend the agenda to add Resolution 17 passes 6-0.
Thank you, Ms. DeWalt.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
along those same lines, I noticed on the agenda for tonight, there is a first reading for Ordinance 11, 2020 regarding trash and recycling and declaring an emergency on that. I am a member of the Finance Committee, and I know that the Finance Committee has requested to review this. And we did not get this in committee, and yet now here it is on the agenda. So I will stand corrected if any other chair wants to pipe in and say that they discussed it in their committee. But it is my opinion that this was not discussed in any committee, and we have no knowledge of whether this is a rate increase or how much of an increase or anything. So I would like to make a motion to remove Ordinance 11, 2020 from the agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
if I may, I would like to second that motion.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. Zorb with a second from Ms. Bailey to remove Ordinance 11-2020 from tonight's agenda. Discussion,
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'm not sure what Ordinance 11, 2020 is. Did we receive a copy of 11, 2020?
It would have been emailed with the first agenda on Thursday night, I believe.
Yes. Okay. All right.
I'd like to point out that kind of substantiates my motion.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ms. Underwood?
Is there something in the rules that requires all legislation to go to a committee first? I want to say that there's not. That's why I'm asking.
There is.
Is that one of the new, I'm sorry, is that one of the new revisions, Mary Jo? Or I'm sorry, Ms. Zorb?
It is not. That's longstanding.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Ms.
Hey.
Bailey?
okay. So I'm pretty sure the way that it's written is that if it doesn't necessarily fall into a specific committee, like it's kind of in between two, it comes to you and then you assign it to a committee before it is brought to the council floor. I'm pretty sure that's the way that we wrote that. But along those lines, we also wrote that all legislation would be in by, I believe it's Wednesday at 9. So that way the clerk of council could get us one agenda before our meeting instead of adding.
Mr. President,
Madam Mayor,
I just had a question. I do believe that this is the piece of legislation that was sent to you by Mr. Mosby a week or so ago. And I believe,
sounds about right, yes.
okay, and my other question or comment is, from what I recall, is does the charter state that it has to be read first before it goes into committee? Or something with legislation when it comes to, when it's read after the first reading, it can go into, be sent out committee.
Mr. President,
I do not have my charter in front of me. Ms. Underwood.
I seem to recall that earlier this year, that is exactly what occurred. There was a piece of legislation that we had the first reading for, and then it was sent to the committee. But I can't, I don't remember what it was, but I do remember that that occurred. That's why I'm asking if there is a specific rule.
Ms. Zorb, do you have that rule number?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
right quick, Miss Underwood, the reason that we did that was because it was our first council meeting of the month and finance met the very next Monday, so we could run it through committee and bring it right back out for the second meeting, council meeting of the month. In this essence, it's not necessarily the same because finance has already met.
Okay, so Mr. President, I guess I'm wondering what would be the harm in having the first reading and then referring it to the finance committee?
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
it would be my opinion that there's no harm, first of all. But what it does do is then once it has a reading, it's now that document is now in play, right? So if it goes to committee and things get changed, modified, whatever iterations happen in committee, it then has to be changed on the council floor with motions, versus if it goes to committee first, any kind of changes can be made, and it's just not as messy. It doesn't make us look as disorganized as we are absolutely looking right now. And it's just a clean process. And that is why it was put in place to begin with.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor from Ms. Zorb with a second by Ms. Bailey to remove ordinance 11-2020 from the agenda. Please call the roll.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Underwood,
No,
that was a no.
that is a no.
Thank you. Mr. Miller Novak,
No.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
It comes to a 3 no votes. I'm sorry. 2 no votes, 4 yes votes. Motion passes 4-2.
Thank you, ma'am.
President,
Sorry.
Ms. Bailey,
I would like to make a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
President,
Ms. Zorb,
I will second that motion.
motion for Ms. Bailey, second for Ms. Zorb to accept the agenda as amended. Discussion? Ms. Dewall, please call the roll.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Zorb,
Yes.
Miss Hartman,
yes,
Miss Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adopt the minutes as amended, 6-0.
Did you say minutes? That's the agenda. Just making sure you've got.
I'm sorry, I did say minutes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. That's the agenda. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Now you do have the council meeting minutes from 10:05.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
at our last finance meeting, I was advised that there were several changes made to several committees. However, I don't see that in our minutes. Of course, I haven't read them line by line yet, the way that I like to, but I'm just wondering if somebody can direct me to where that is in the minutes, please.
New business. Nope, I'm wrong.
I believe it actually occurred in the last meeting or the meeting prior to this meeting.
That was the September 21st meeting.
Okay,
So it did not occur at the 10:05 meeting.
all right, fair enough. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
I would like to make a motion to adopt for the October 5th council meeting.
Okay, we're going to have to wait till the dog stops. I only heard half of what you said, Miss Bailey. You're making a motion?
To adopt the
Adopt.
minutes.
All righty. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
Motion for Ms. Bailey, second for Ms. Zorb to adopt the minutes from the October 5th, 2020 meeting. Discussion? Please call the roll.
I'm sorry, Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Zorb,
Yes.
Miss Hartman,
yes,
Miss Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right, next item on the agenda is communications.
So as far as communication goes, I only have one item. And I forgot to print that off. Give me one moment here. It is actually from the YMCA regarding COVID testing that starts this evening or today, actually. One moment, please. And according to the flyer, it is at the Powell Crosley on Winton Road, and it's every Monday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Upon request, I will put this flyer in each council member's mailbox. I believe I did send it to them in an email.
Yes, ma'am, you did.
And that's all I have for correspondence.
Thank you. Any questions regarding communications? All right, we'll turn it over to committee reports, budget and finance.
All right, so we met last Monday at 7:30 p.m. We started to look at the 2021 budget, and it was noticed that there are a couple of different copies floating around. So I did ask Ms. Hall kind of late today to send us all the same one working document. So the next budget that Ms. Hall sends everybody will be the budget that we will be working off of. None of the old copies, just this one new copy. We started trying to establish some 2021 fiscal goals for the city, including a surplus. And we would like to not see a cleanup ordinance next year. We talked about maybe starting a independent contractors license system for the city. We spoke a little bit about the salary ordinance, and that is pretty much the brunt of it. We are trying to schedule a committee of the whole for soon that we will talk about, I'm sure, in new business tonight. And our next meeting is the second Monday of next month at 7:30. I don't have a calendar in front of me, so.
It would be the 9th.
Thank you. It will be the 9th at 7:30.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Next, city and community development and recreation.
As the interim chair of City and Community Development and Recreation, we talked about 2021 goals for this as well, including a community event, maybe some kind of fitness event that we can properly social distance ourselves. We talked about the Taking Root program and possibly starting a median adoption program for businesses or individuals to adopt some of the islands on Galbraith that haven't had landscaping in a while. We talked about a bulk amount of tulip prices, as maybe we will reach out to the CIC to see if they would like to purchase some tulip bulbs. And then we briefly touched on a parks and outdoor spaces levy. And so we're still kicking that one around. And our next meeting will be November the 9th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey.
Yes, sir.
Next, public safety.
We did not meet in the last week. Our next meeting is actually on the 4th Monday of October, which would be next week on Monday.
10/26. Okay, thank you. Rules and public policy.
Yeah, we have not met since our last council meeting, and we will be meeting at 6:30 on the 26th.
Thank you. Ad hoc reports.
The CIC did meet on Thursday. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend that meeting. Mr. Mosby may have some updates.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mosby.
Councilmember Underwood was there, so I would defer to her for any contribution or report.
Ms. Underwood.
I was there, and I was paying attention. At the CIC meeting, as I recall, we kind of brainstormed several ideas about how to gather or collect information about businesses in North College Hill, and possibly put together some kind of business directory that we could then turn around and distribute to the citizens of North College Hill, so that they would just kind of know what businesses are available, what kind, who's doing business here, and to encourage people to do business with the businesses in North College Hill. The CIC wants to work with council to try to kind of formulate some kind of way to do like a registration for businesses, with possibly a nominal fee, but just to cover the cost of the directory, to let all of the citizens, that we would then turn around and give to all of the citizens. That was the majority of what the meeting was about.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Any other ad hoc reports? All right, we'll move on to the administrative reports, starting off with Madam Mayor Tracy Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to remind everyone that the cleanup day is this Saturday. It starts at 9 a.m. And if you're available, or if you know anyone who is available, to have them come out and to help with the cleanup day. I would also like to take notice that I did notice, I'm not sure who did it, but I noticed that there had been some pruning or cleaning of the sunflowers over in the area, and thank you to the mayor. Also, the following week, we will have regular trick-or-treat hours from 6 to 8, but there will also be a trunk-or-treat at Rose's parking lot from 3 to 5. If you are available to come out and support the trunk-or-treat, bring treats in your trunk, please feel free to do so. That is the 31st from 3 to 5. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any questions?
Mr. President.
Ms. Bailey?
Oh, that was Miss Anderson.
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay.
Should've looked.
I want to say thank you to Mimi Anderson for being the person to go and clean up the sunflower field, because she initiated that and she did an awesome job and it looks beautiful.
It does. I thank her as well. I didn't know who did it, but I did notice it when I rode past. So thank you, Miss Mimi Anderson.
She's a good one.
All right, next on the agenda, we have our city administrator's report. We'll turn it over to Mr. Mosby.
That was pleasant. Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. And I too would like to welcome Ms. Anderson to council. I'm definitely looking forward to working with her as well. I'm excited about the energy that she brings to the council. I wanted to make a couple of points. Number one, there will be COVID testing this Thursday. The reason I bring this up is because I know that in the past week, our state has seen a significant surge in COVID-19 cases. And I am not saying this to try to instill fear in anyone. I'm just trying to be practical. Last week, we had over 3 straight days of 2,000 cases each day and several deaths. And then even today, there were an additional 1,800 cases. So I know that the state and Hamilton County are doing all that they can to make sure they provide sufficient testing sites. And so one of the testing sites is Greater Emmanuel, which is the church that is on Galbraith Road and it is just to the east. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact address in front of me, but it's just to the east of Daly Road, so it's in Finneytown. But I did want to make sure that all of the council members were aware that they will be having testing there this coming Thursday. I am also actually pretty excited about this next piece, this next piece of news, I guess, that I'm sharing. But we actually do have an application for the community reinvestment area. Now, we do not have a piece. I do not have a piece of legislation yet to submit to council, but I did want to bring it to their attention. And the reason I'm excited about this is because it applies to a new build, and it is located on Merle Avenue. And actually, it looks pretty ambitious. I did see the plans. I think it's a 5-bedroom ranch house, so it looks like a nice sized project. But I did want to make council aware that that application or that ordinance for the application will be coming fairly soon. As the mayor said, also there is a cleanup on Saturday. I'm certainly hoping that members of council will be able to be there. I know that we have talked with various people in the community, and certainly many of the businesses. And I know that they have committed to attending. So I am definitely looking forward to this Saturday. I know my wife and I will be there for that. Also, the trunk or treat, as the mayor said, where we will have cars. So if any council members do have cars or would like to participate in the trunk or treat, which will be held in the parking lot of Roses, and that will be on the 31st. From 3 to 5 o'clock p.m. There's only a couple of other things. One of the issues that was brought up today, of course, was the ordinance that was placed on the agenda. Again, if somebody wants to, I certainly will take responsibility for whatever, delay may have occurred. I will say a couple of things, and I think it's important to be cleared up. Number one, the item is a renewal, and the reason it's a renewal is because, once again, the funds, and this is straight from the Hamilton County Auditor's Office, the funds will continue to be dispersed to us through 2021. And so as she made it clear, as Tammy Disk made it very clear to us, if the item is on the ballot in May, then it is considered a renewal. It will take effect the year that it is passed. So therefore, if it's passed in May as a renewal, then it will continue through. It'll continue without any interruption. So that's one of the things that I think is important. The other part of that is I certainly do agree when I discovered that and found out about it, that it would have been ideal to try to place it on the ballot earlier, which would have probably been, November. However, once again, our instruction and certainly the information that we received from the auditor's office did assure us that as long as we follow this particular course of action, then we would have no problem getting it on the ballot, and as long as it passes, that it would continue. And just a couple of other things. It is the second largest levy that we do have of the four, so it is a 4.8 mil levy. The largest levy that we have, of course, is the police levy, which is 4.9. The other thing is that it is this particular levy that would be renewed is a 5-year levy, and so if it were to be renewed, it would be renewed for 5 years. There was also mention of another issue that I would at least like to address here briefly. I thought I heard Ms. Bailey say that the council would like to perhaps avoid having a cleanup ordinance, what we call a cleanup ordinance. I would just like to offer a few things for consideration. I do not think that would be practical to try to avoid it. I've worked for not just this city, I've also worked for the city of Cincinnati. And every year that I worked at the city of Cincinnati, there was a cleanup ordinance. And the reason why is because when monies flow into our general fund, they do not go into any particular appropriation. They just go into our general bank account, and then that money is used as it is needed. What council does when they approve the budget is they approve basically spending limits. So we have to, so for us, we have to constantly make decisions about certain payments. And there are certain large payments that we have, everything from, we have a semi-annual payment, as most of you know, that pays for, that is the repayment for the roof. And that's a fairly large amount of money. Beginning in 2021, of course, we'll have an annual payment for the ambulance. So those types of payments come out as one lump sum. So when they are, sometimes when they are brought out, monies so that we can keep so basically we can keep track or account of where monies are or how monies are being used. Monies will, when they come out, it may look as if there are monies that have to be adjusted basically from one particular appropriation to another. But the bottom line is that kind of movement happens throughout the year. So the whole purpose of the cleanup ordinance, of course, by law, is that when we close out the year, every appropriation has to be in the black, or at least at zero. And so that is the purpose of it, so that it can be, so that all of the accounts can be in order at the end of the year. Obviously there will probably be questions in council, and maybe this is something I believe might be more appropriately discussed in Finance Committee, but since it was stated, I did want to make sure that that I addressed that. We certainly do have, I know this has been a fairly enlightening week for me, because I've discovered that there were several reports that during the week that that I had to address, everything from civil service reports that were coming in to state reports regarding council roster, council membership. So once again, I am right now, I'm in the midst of even with the, the contract, excuse me, for Rumpke, which is one of the things that I'm in the midst of right now. That contract, we want to make sure that we have awarded by November the 20th, so that we would be able to make sure that we have service started by January the 1st. What I'm talking about, that particular contract, of course, is different from what was on the agenda today. However, what was on the agenda today, the council voted not to have on there, is the ordinance for the rates for the citizens in the city. So those monthly rates obviously are something the council does have to pass, and it was put together in such a way so that we would be able to ensure that we had enough money to be able to pay for our Rumpke trash service without having to be short, because I know that we were short for several years with the funding for the trash collection. So that is all I have right now, Mr. President.
Mr. Mosby,
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I have two questions for Mr. Mosby. The first is, could you please send to council a copy of the prior rates for Rumpke, so that we have a basis to make our decision on? And then secondly, I'm a little confused about something, so I'm hoping you could help me. In my recollection, you had mentioned to council that the city was granted a grant. It was approved a grant. I don't know what the proper terminology is, but we received a grant for the electric charging station. And it's also my understanding that there is potential revenue around an electric charging station. And I guess it caught me off guard when I had heard through the grapevine that you had offered this potential revenue to be on school property, and then school would get the revenue versus the city, when our budget is as tight as you could possibly get it, and we could use every penny of revenue that we could get. So I guess if I heard that wrong, please set the record straight. Or if I didn't, please help me understand why it went down that way.
So let's begin. You heard it wrong. So that way we can get that out the way.
All right.
I understand how our large city, we can have a lot of misinformation that tends to flow. What actually happened was there was a gentleman, as you rightly said, who works for a company called Electrata. And we were talking about the possibility of putting different types of charging stations in different locations. And what was decided was that if there were going to be any charging stations that were placed on school property, they would be dedicated to the school. That was part and parcel of the project that I am working with, the project that you were asking about with the grant. Those charging stations are still scheduled to be put into the parking lot in this parking area here. So there would be multiple, clearly there would be multiple charging stations, but in the city, but the ones that would be on school property would be basically dedicated to school employees. Although right now that is not, there hasn't been no confirmation of that. That was simply what was suggested. But as far as the charging stations that are coming into the city center, that is still what the plan is.
Very good to hear. Thank you.
And Mr. Mosby, she also requested the previous Rumpke rates to be emailed to council.
Yes. All right. I can do that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. President, Mr. Mosby, I just need a yes or a no. Have we heard back from the FOP?
No, we have not.
Thank you.
But to be clear, so I want to be fair, the representative has been on vacation, so he will be coming back this week. So once I am confirmed that he has returned, obviously I will be reaching out to you and Ms. Zorb so that we can get an idea of what's going to happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for Mr. Mosby? All right, next administrative report on the agenda is from the law director. I do not see Mr. Dieters present. Final administrative report is from the finance director. Ms. Hall, I think I've just given you the permission to speak. You would need to unmute.
Hi, I do not have a report at this time, but I do know that there is a request to send out a updated 2021 budget. So I will definitely have that out before the end of the week. And I do intend to have a financial report to you at the next council meeting.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions? All right, that brings us to call of members.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
before you do the call of members, I don't recall that we adopted the minutes today. we talked about them. I had a question about them, but I don't recall that we actually, like, there was a motion and there was a vote to adopt the minutes from the October 5th meeting.
Ms. Bailey made the motion, Ms. Zorb seconded it, passed 6-0.
Okay. All right.
That means you voted on it. Hey, better safe than sorry. All right, we will go to call of members. That will start with Ms. Bailey.
I don't really have much. I would like to welcome Miss Anderson to council. We're glad to have a new face. Sad to see the old faces go, but always welcome the new energy. Anything that you need, or if you have questions about anything that's in committee, you can send me an email or call me. I'm pretty much available. Other than that, I feel like there is a breakdown in communication these days between administration and council. And I'm wondering if there are any problem-solving solutions on how we can start to alleviate some of these communication barriers. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Next up, Ms. Underwood.
Thank you, Mr. President. And so I just want you all to know that I am drinking coffee. I'm awake, I promise, sort of. I would like to also say welcome to Miss Anderson. We're not normally this animated, but you know, it does get exciting sometimes because, you know, we all have personalities. I'll describe it that way. And it will be certain, it's sure to keep us all awake for sure. I would also just like to say that I really do want us all to get along better. I think that there's, you know, we would get way more done if we could all just try to figure out a way to get along. So I'm not trying to be, I don't know, difficult, but I really do want us to try to get this figured out because I just think it'll be easier for all of us if we do. So that is all I have. And I look forward to seeing everybody on Saturday for the cleanup day.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Next up, Mr. Miller Novak.
Yeah, welcome to Miss Anderson, and thanks for filling in and filling the seat, and I'm sure you'll do swell. And that's all I have today.
Thank you, Mr. Miller Novak. Next, Ms. Zorb.
Well, I'm going to follow in line and say welcome. And I haven't been able to validate it, and I don't know how I can, but I think that Miss Anderson might be the youngest council member, if not ever, in a very long time. How's that?
Mr. President.
A little whippersnapper.
You have something to add to that, Ms. Bailey?
Oh, absolutely. So I started at 26, 27. Oh, yep, she is the youngest. Verified.
Ms. Zorb, will you accept that as verification?
Sure, it's pretty unofficial, but yes. I can only take from that Miss Bailey seems to think that she was the youngest before that. I don't know what she's basing that on.
Well, Mr. President, I was until Christian, who was like 24, and now it's Miss Anderson.
All right. Now I lost track of what I was going to say.
Sorry.
I don't know. It must not have been that important because I can't remember. That's it.
If you remember, let me know and I'll defer back to you.
I feel like I wrote it down somewhere and it'll come back to me. Sorry.
Okay. Ms. Hartman.
welcome, Miss Anderson. Wish I could see everyone's faces and we can be in person again. But y'all have a good time on Saturday. I will not be around. I have prior engagements with my children, but I can assure you we do enough picking up around here. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hartman. And finally, Ms. Anderson.
Hello. I just want to say thank you to everybody for making me feel so welcome. It's been a pretty smooth transition, which is a lot to say. So thank you. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be at the trash pickup. My sister's getting married on Saturday, so I'll be a little busy. So hopefully that'll be good. But thank you to everybody for welcoming me in. And if I can I ask a question?
Yes.
How do I get onto a committee?
That won't be hard.
Push me in.
I'm thinking Amber Bailey's probably got a great opportunity for you right off the bat.
Absolutely.
So that could be some new business discussion later this evening.
Mr. Graber,
Ms. Zorb.
I remembered what I wanted to say.
Perfect. I was getting ready to ask.
If I could swing back around. Sorry about that. So I just wanted to point out that I did send an email to Mr. Miller Novak along the lines of having a new council member, and there's still another one in the wings. But I would like to establish, for lack of a better term, an onboarding process of things that a new council member, all the steps that need to happen to get someone up and running and official and all of that good stuff. So if anyone who would not be on Mr. Miller Novak's Rules and Laws Committee has any input, I know he didn't mention it, but I'm going to mention it for him. If you have any input, please send that to him, and we will get that discussed and added to the process.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson.
I would love to help with that as somebody who just went through it all. I feel like I have a few pointers, so I will definitely reach out to you, Mr. Miller Novak.
Or
Excellent.
that could be one of the committees you want to be on.
Ooh.
Just saying.
All right, Ms. Zorb, anything else? Thank you. All right, that will move us into legislation, Ms. DeWolf.
All right, one moment. Geez, I lost my cheat sheet. That's not good. I mean, seriously. Found it. We have let's see, a first reading. I need to go back to my notes.
Can I help you with this one?
Yeah, on ordinance 11. We did not remove that, correct?
We did remove that.
Yes, we
We
did.
did remove it.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. So we added resolution 17-2020.
17. Okay. All righty. And honestly, I don't know why I'm so discombobulated. So we have a second reading on ordinance 6, an ordinance to establish salaries and staffing levels for the city employees pursuant to the requirements of section 3.06 of the City of North College Hill Charter. Second reading. We have a second reading on resolution 16, a resolution to certify assessments to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate. We have a third reading on resolution 15, a resolution appointing members to the Community Reinvestment Area Housing Council and the Tax Incentive Review Council.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
We still need an appointment for the Tax Incentive Review Council. The last meeting that we discussed this, I kind of tried to throw Mr. Miller Novak under the bus and the bus was halted. So if anybody would like to volunteer.
There's crickets, lots of crickets.
Yeah.
Again, Mr. President, I would like to say that this committee, in my knowledge, has not met since 2017. It does seem as though as it may be meeting soon with a new, no, this is commercial.
So do we need this name before we can pass this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
can I suggest that we table this discussion until maybe our seventh member joins us, and then we'll figure out of the seven of us who should join that as this appointment.
Number one, what was our time frame on needing to have this done? Does anybody remember?
Mr. President, this is a piece that is required by the state. I will make the motion to appoint myself as the Tax Incentive Review Council appointee for council until somebody else, well, until further notice.
Mr. President, I'll second that.
Thank you.
All right, so the motion would be to appoint Ms. Bailey to the Community Reinvestment Area Housing Council and Tax Incentive Review Council.
And Mr. President, I'm pretty sure Mary Jo Zorb was the second person for the Community Reinvestment Council.
So you're the tax incentive.
Oh, no, sir, I'm both.
You're both. Okay. Don't confuse me. All right, so the motion is to appoint Ms. Bailey for now to the councils. The motion's by Ms. Bailey with a second from Ms. Underwood. Any discussion? Ms. Dewald, please call the roll.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Zorb,
Yes.
Miss Hartman,
Yes.
Miss Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
I would like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 15, 2020.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Motion from Ms. Bailey with a second from Ms. Zorb to adopt Resolution 15, 2020. Discussion? Ms. Dewald, please call the roll.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Zorb,
Yes.
Miss Hartman,
Yes.
Miss Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
We have, look, I've lost that. Again. I'm going to staple it to my forehead. We have a third reading on Ordinance 10, an ordinance to levy a permissive vehicle license tax pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code Section 4504.173.
Mr. President,
Bailey?
I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 10/2020.
Mr. President,
Ms. Hartman,
I'll second that.
motion for Ms. Bailey, second for Ms. Hartman to adopt ordinance 10-2020. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I don't have this piece of legislation in front of me. Does anyone know, did we make a determination where this revenue will go?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
Ms. Zorb, I believe it goes into the street fund as a restricted use. It is a $5 increase onto what we currently pay to register our vehicles. The most important part of this for me, though, is it does gain us more points with skip grants and having our streets redone.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
the ordinance says, whereas as the fee must be expended on road maintenance and repairs within North College Hill City.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, sorry. So the motion for Ms. Bailey, second for Ms. Hartman to adopt ordinance 10. Please call the roll.
Ms. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
And then we have a first reading. Good Lord, we did keep that one, right?
17.
Yes. We have a first reading on resolution 17, 2020. Declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation and requesting the county auditor to certify to matters in connection therewith and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President,
First reading.
Ms. Underwood?
I have a question for yes. I think it's called a point of order. I just have a question. I'm not trying to pick a fight, I promise. Of course, you say that right before you pick a fight. We had a vote to remove ordinance 11-2020 from the agenda because it violated, and I did look that up because, my fellow council members told me it was a rule. So I looked it up, and there is a rule that says, Rule 7.9, the presiding officer shall assign all legislative matters to the appropriate committee for consideration prior to introduction to the council agenda. However, Resolution 17-2020 was not referred to any appropriate committee. So what is the difference between Resolution 17-2020 and Ordinance 11-2020?
President,
Ms. Zorb?
I can only give my reasoning, why I voted the way I voted, and not that I don't have to justify my votes. That's also in council rules, but I will. It would be my opinion that, as I stated when I made the motion to remove 11-2020, is committee asked for that information. And it's my understanding that the committee asked for that information a while ago. And instead of providing that information the proper route through the committee, it was bypassed and put directly on the agenda. So to me, that didn't feel right. And as for voting to put resolution 17 on the agenda, I agreed to that because it's the first step in a multi-step process that is extremely time sensitive. Those are my reasons.
Mr. President.
Ms. Underwood.
Okay, again, Ms. Orb, I apologize because I wasn't really looking for like everybody's reason before everybody chimes in with their reasons. I was just wondering if there was like a distinction between like an ordinance and a resolution, or if there was like something like a distinction between like referring it to Mr. Graver or not. That was my question, more so than why anybody voted the way that they did.
So
Like
if
my
I may,
question is a procedural question, not a why, like a substantive question. It's a procedural one.
I got
So I can speak to the fact that there is no difference between ordinance and resolution when it comes to that. So.
Okay.
But that's the limits of my knowledge.
Mr. President.
Ms. Zorb.
So if that's the question, then they both should have been handled the same way. They both should have gone through either Mr. Graver assigning them to committee or directly being put into committee.
Okay.
Is that
And
better?
thank you, Ms. Orb. That was my question. And I apologize. I didn't mean to like make you feel like you had to. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. President,
Ms. Nichols.
if I may, and I'm sure someone will, but correct me if I'm wrong. I just want it to be noted that administration did not ask for this legislation tonight to go on. It was in fact sent to you, and you decided if it would go on now or if it would go to the committee.
Okay.
I know Mr. Mosby sent it to you. It was your decision whether or not you added it to it tonight or if you sent it to a committee. I don't want to speak for you, and I am under the impression that you added it to the agenda so that it might be sent to committee if it needed to go. Because based off of some of the remarks, and I could be interpreting it incorrectly, is that administration just straight out asked you, put it on the agenda for tonight, which was not the case.
So if you're referencing the one that got added, yes, that was my decision to try and get it on because of the time sensitivity. If we're referencing the one that was removed, I did put it straight on, and that would be my omission, my error.
Okay,
So,
thank
Mr.
you.
President.
I'm sorry, Ms. Nichols, did you have something
I'm sorry.
there?
No, I didn't. I just, from some of the remarks that were made, it seemed as though we, like administration, either Mr. Mosby or myself or Ms. Hall was just sending the legislation out there, and we asked that it go on an agenda. Just so I can say this, the majority of the things that we asked to go on the agenda, we send it to the president first. He makes the decision there. Very rarely do we say, can you just add this? Especially when it comes to things with money.
Mr. President.
Ms. Underwood.
Actually, Madam Mayor, the rules actually say that the presiding officer, who is Mr. Graver, is the one who shall assign all legislative matters. So I think that everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. My question was just procedural because I just wanted to kind of understand what was happening. That's all. But I wasn't trying to imply that administration was doing something inappropriate. And if I suggested that with my question, I apologize.
No,
You did not. I just wanted, I'm sorry, Mr. President, you did not. I just wanted to clarify that for myself and to let it be known that it was sent to Mr. Graver initially.
Mr. President,
Ms. Debo.
I don't know how much this will, well, so earlier today, myself and Mr. Graver, the mayor, Bill Dieters, and Ms. Hall received an email from our city administrator. And in there, I mean, if these things happen, we can't control absolutely everything. But in there, he says, I apologize for the delay. in submitting this. However, it's imperative that it be presented at this evening's council meeting for a first reading. So, you know, when you get a little nudge and a bump, you do things. And I realize that our rules of council or charter, I don't know where you said you found it, leaves a lot of room for interpretation, but I think things need to be flexible just for cases like this.
Well, thank you. And look, I will take my lumps as well as anybody. If they came through me, I made the decisions to put them on the agenda one way or the other. So, all right, thank you. We will move on to next item, which is comments from the audience. So we had an audience attendee earlier, but that person has appeared to have dropped off. So we do not have any audience participation. That'll take us to old business.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey.
I had asked our last meeting to have like a budget work session, and then I think it's going to be a committee of the whole. When can we schedule that? I think, and Ms. Underwood, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think in our finance meeting, you said you would be open to giving up your committee time.
That is correct.
Okay, but it appears as though as we have visitors for a different committee next Monday.
President?
Miller Novak.
Oh, no, this is the.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mosby.
Yes, I was requested by Mr. Miller Novak to have guests present at the next meeting. And so I have confirmed that they will attend. They are part of administration. I do want to point out again that in this case, of course, the people that were requested, which are from the, which are from the buildings department, of course, are not employees of the city. And so when they attend, I have to make sure that I adjust for their time, because clearly they're going to have to be paid for their present time. And I've already talked to them about how we'll work that out. But yes, they are scheduled to appear at the committee meeting.
So, Mr. President, I don't want to take away anybody's committee time by any means. It was just a suggestion. Maybe we can schedule a committee of the whole to start working on the budget for 2021. Mondays and Tuesdays are good for me.
Sorry, I just messed up my calendar. So if we looked at next Tuesday, knowing tomorrow is too soon, would be October 27th.
I'm cool for the 27th. My goal is for the first time since I've been on council, not to repeat past history and to have a working budget for the next year instead of have to redo it and have a temporary budget. So, and we all know that this takes eons of time. And so the earlier that we can start, the better.
I am available on the 27th. I don't know about anyone else.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
what time are we talking about on the 27th?
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
I would like to say 6:30-ish. I think 7:30 starts too late, but I'm also a night owl. I just don't want you guys to have to drink coffee at 10 o'clock at night.
Is there a time that works better for you, Ms. Underwood?
Probably earlier is better. So if we can start closer to 6, I would appreciate that, but I'll make it work.
Mr. President,
Mr. Miller Novak.
I could do 6:30, but any earlier than that would really be pushing it for me.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Ms. Hartman,
I'm fine with it.
October 27th, 6:30.
Yep.
Ms. Anderson,
6:30 sounds good.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb,
at the risk of being the unfavored one in the group yet again, can we even establish a cutoff time so that we're not 10:30 and we'll just have to have two if that's what it takes.
I would be fine with that. Ms. Bailey.
I would also be fine with that. I do think it's important to add that we still need to have an executive session for setting the salaries of city employees, as we have not made any kind of headway on our law director. And so,
Okay, were you wanting to make that part of this, or you're just reminding us that we still need to do an executive session?
I think if we're going to do a committee of the whole and we have everybody there and we can do it, then we need to. So I'm not opposed to a cutoff time, but do we want to do an executive session right at, I don't know, 6:35? So we can knock that one out pretty quickly.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I noticed that we didn't ask Mayor Nichols or.
Yeah, I hadn't got there yet.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I was just, okay.
You throw a rabbit out in front of me, I'm going to chase it.
Bird dogging.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Zorb. Ms. Nichols, Tuesday, 10/27 at 6:30.
That's fine.
Mr. Mosby.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. Yeah, at 6:30, yes, I just will have to leave before 7:30.
Yeah. Ms. Hall, are you available that evening?
I am.
Okay, may I suggest we cap it at 2 hours for this session, or is that too quick? I'm getting some thumbs up for 2 hours, so, all right. All right, so we're setting a committee of the whole meeting. I'm sorry, I am setting a committee of the whole meeting for 10/27 at 6:30 p.m. Ms. Zorb, you'll work with ICRC. Ms. Dewald, you'll work with postings.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey.
and one more time, I would like to add that all of the previous 2021 budgets that we have, let's throw them out the window, and Ms. Hall is going to give us all the same copy.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dewald.
I just wanted to clarify, so there will definitely be an executive session that night.
Yes, ma'am. So Ms. Zorb, we need to make sure that we're prepared for executive session. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Any other old business?
Mr. President, I'm sorry.
Ms. Nichols?
I'm not sure if this is old, but if earlier during call of members, Ms. Bailey made a comment about communication and the lack thereof or breakdown between administration and council, if she would like to elaborate on that, or if she would like to send us a detailed email, whichever she would prefer. Whichever she would prefer. Because
President,
Ms. Bailey.
Ms. Nichols, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
Ms. Bailey.
I think that, so basically what I'm looking at is I have sent emails that have went unanswered. I know that there have been pieces of legislation or questions or follow-up questions that have been asked that have been unanswered. I will circle back around and send a detailed email of all of them. I do think that when I say breakdown of communication, I think that that sounds really bad. I don't want it to sound like us versus them, if that makes sense. I kind of just feel like that in the breakdown of communication, like it's not just an even flow of information. I don't want it to feel hateful or he said, she said, or God forbid, the lack of transparency, because that's not it at all. I just think that there is a better way that we can be communicating on things.
In the kitchen.
I'm sorry, and you're referring to, I'm sorry, Mr. President, you're referring to the response in emails or the lack thereof. I know okay. All right, I don't want to take up a lot of time with this. That's why I said it's noted. I'll go back through my emails. I do recall the last one was pretty lengthy, and Ms. Hall, Mr. Mosby, and myself did have a conversation with it. And the last, from my understanding, you received some of that information, and some of it they were still working on. I don't want to speak for them, but that's just what was expressed to me.
Okay.
I appreciate you responding. And if you need to put whatever else into email, feel free to, please, so that we can address the issues, because we want to work together, not against each other. I think we all have the same common goal here, and it's the city and the betterment of the city. So everybody is concerned about finances, streets, or what have you.
All right, thank you. Any other old business? All right. We'll move to new business.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
Ms. Marjorie Anderson, which committees would you like to be on, and would you like to chair possibly maybe City and Community Development and Recreation?
Oh, Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
is there any way that there's room on Committee Development and Recreation?
As the chair.
I believe there is an opening there.
Is there an open that's not the chair?
Yeah, not, well, there is, yes. But...
Yes. Yes. The co-chair.
Mr. President,
Ms. Anderson?
can I present a motion to put myself onto the City and Community Development and Recreation?
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'll move to add Ms. Anderson to that committee.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have to serve on at least 2.
Correct.
So to save you time and dates, Finance and City and Community Development meet on the same Monday, so you kind of get the 4th Monday off. But Finance is Finance.
Yeah. Mr. President, do you want to put me on the first one and then do the second one, or do you want me to do them all at once?
Mr. President, I can modify my motion if need be to make this easy.
Okay.
Mr. President, I will move to add Ms. Anderson to both the Finance Committee as well as the Community and City and Community Development and Recreation Committee.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I apologize. I didn't hear Ms. Anderson say she wanted to be on finance. Did I miss that?
Well, I understood that was the direction she was heading there when Ms. Underwood made the change. Ms. Anderson, are you agreeable to those 2 committees?
Mr. President, that's a bit outside of my comfort zone, but I'm willing to do it. Let's try it.
Okay, thank you. All All right, so the motion's from Ms. Underwood to add Ms. Anderson to City Community Development, Recreation, and Finance Committees.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
I will second that with welcoming arms.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, keeping in mind, Ms. Anderson, we all have responsibility around the budget, so you'll get in there and get swinging. Ms. Dewald, please call the roll.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
let's see, Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Zorb,
Yes.
Miss Hartman,
Yes.
and Miss Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I would like to ask Ms. Anderson if she's actually interested in another committee, to make sure that, you know, you are actually doing things that interest you.
Please ask.
Ms. Anderson, are you interested in any other committee?
Mr. President,
Ms.
Ms. Underwood, I think I'm gonna stick to 2 right now, and once I get my bearings, I'll see where else I might fit in well. But thank you for asking.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dewald.
while we have Miss Anderson in the hot seat here, if you could please, I will send you an email with information that I need from you.
Mhm.
If you could give me that information so I can forward it on. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I think I'm falling in the Miss Underwood territory of, I can't remember. Did we assign a president pro tempore?
Thank you for bringing that up because I thought about that the other day. We have not. We need to do that.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey.
I am not interested and I am not volunteering for this. So somebody else has got to do it.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I am also not interested.
For the record, I have only missed one meeting all year.
Mr. Miller Novak,
What?
Crickets.
President Pro Tem. Question mark.
Yeah, I mean, Mike never misses, so I guess I'd do
One.
it.
I've missed one.
One meeting, huh? Yeah, sure. I guess I'd do it.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Matthew Miller Novak as president pro tempore.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey.
I will second that motion to make Matthew Miller Novak President Pro Tem.
Any other discussion?
Is anyone else interested? Sorry, I know I just seconded that, but was anybody else interested?
I'll answer for Ms. Anderson. No. All right. I hear no one saying they want it. So motion for Ms. Zorb, second for Ms. Bailey to appoint Matt Miller Novak as the president pro tem. Please call the roll.
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yeah, I guess there's no financial benefit. So yes.
Miss Zorb,
Yes.
Miss Hartman,
Yes.
and Miss Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Other new business.
Mr. President, real quick.
Bailey.
So I can go back and look at the minutes, but did I also sign myself up to be the chamber rep, or did somebody else take that one?
I don't have that in front of me to make a quick look. Ms. Zorb.
Awesome.
Ms. Zorb is. She's pointing at her. Let the record show Ms. Zorb is pointing at herself.
Great.
Thank you, Ms. Zorb. Any other new business?
Mr. President,
I'm sorry. Was that you, Ms. Zorb?
I have to admit, though, I don't know how to formally get on the chamber's list.
Mr. President,
Ms.
It
Bailey?
I will send an email to Mickey and you and let Mickey, who I know is part of the chamber, know that you are the chamber representative, and I will do that.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Any other new business? Last call for new business.
Mr. President,
Ms. Bailey?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I will second that motion.
Motion for Ms. Bailey, second for Ms. Underwood to adjourn the meeting. Any discussion? All right, call the roll, please. Ms. Dewald?
Miss Bailey,
Yes.
Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Zorb,
Yes.
Miss Hartman,
Yes.
Miss Anderson.
Yes.
That's one in the books for Miss Anderson. Nice meeting you. Motion passes 6-0.
All right, thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.